Hello!
Hi.
Welcome to the first episode of Passive Perception. I am your assistant regional manager, Mary.
I am your regional director in charge of sales, Ben.
This week, we're going to be discussing The Office, the US version created by Mike Schur.
How this works is we each sat down and filled out our own alignment charts individually, without discussing who we were placing where. This means I don't know who's on Mary's chart, and she doesn't know who's on mine.
We're going to be reading our charts from left to right, top down, so we're going to start off with lawful good and end on chaotic evil. So,
Without further ado,
who's going first?
I'll go ahead and start it off with lawful good. I put Daryl in there.
Really?
Yes.
I put good old Toby Flenderson.
Okay.
Yeah, I put Toby, HR. This wasn't one of my favorites. I'm gonna be honest, lawful good was like super tough for me. Couldn't really decide who I wanted to put there, and it was kind of a last minute filler. So
I actually really liked putting Daryl in there. He never, the only prank he ever does that I can think of is when he's pranking Andy.
Right.
And it reveals that the Sabre printers are basically hot garbage.
Correct.
So that's like a good prank.
True.
He's a single dad, works his way up through the company. I don't know, I felt like there's never really anything that I could come up with that he was like bad.
Right. No, I agree with that. Daryl's definitely in my good row.
Right.
I just put Toby because, he literally mandates the laws and rules of the office, being in human resources. So that was sort of my excuse for throwing him there.
Yeah, I have him a little bit further down, but not too far.
That's fair. All right. Social good. Pam Beasley.
Yup.
All right. I don't really think we need to talk about this
one
much.
It just made too much sense.
Yep. She's classic social good to me.
Yeah. She has her moments where she does things a little bit less than like lawful or like super principled, but she's good in every aspect.
Well, and I feel like she always does it for the good of the office, the good of the people.
Yeah.
So I feel like that makes her
definitely
prime social good.
Neutral good, Holly Flex.
Daryl Philbin.
Okay.
I just thought, I didn't think of him as too lawful, but he's a good guy all around. Like you said, same thing. Single dad, just trying to do the right thing all the time. But he's more on the casual good side. He'll sit back, just trying to ride it out. So I thought neutral good was a right place to put him.
Yeah, I could see that. I chose Holly in the good column. She's like what mellows Michael Scott out. And
fair.
That's I think that's a very good quality. She's also HR.
Yep.
Which
those good.
Yep, good HR people. Yeah, no, I think that she has those moments where she can be like Michael Scott, but she also has she tries to stop Meredith from basically prostituting for Outback Steakhouse,
committing serious fraud.
So she has her moments of both lawful and chaotic. So I thought
sure.
that put her right in the middle.
Nice. I feel like our rebel good might be the same. Jim Halpert?
Nope.
Really?
This is the one that I think is going to shock you greatly.
All right, well, let me talk about Jim for a hot second. Obviously, he's like the all-American boy, but he plays those pranks. Rebel good.
See, and I'll go ahead and say Jim is my rebel moral.
Oh, okay.
Still rebellious.
Interesting.
There's just some pranks that he does that are kind of shitty.
Right.
So I thought maybe not fully good.
Yeah, right.
My rebel good, though, is Andy Bernard.
Really?
Yes.
I had him in good for a while, and I booted him right out of there.
Again, one of those people that he doesn't really do anything. Like, when you look at everybody else in the show, they all have moments where they're really crappy people. And Andy definitely has his moments where he can be a jerk.
Yep.
But I don't think he's ever doing it maliciously. Like, when he leaves on the boat to sell the boat, and he leaves Aaron behind, that's pretty bad.
Right.
But I think he was just so caught up in, trying to live out his dreams.
Yeah.
And doing, I don't know.
I get it. But he's not on my good list.
Yeah.
He might not be on my list at all. I might have deleted Andy completely. Sorry, Andy.
Oops.
All right, chaotic good. I think this one's pretty fun. I put Erin.
I did too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
She's just she's batshit crazy, but she's just the best person, best heart.
Yeah. No, never a bad moment from her, but very sporadic and chaotic.
Yep.
Moving to Florida because she just is sick of dealing with Andy and his craziness, but then also just comes back and it's just always all over the place.
Oh yeah, A+. All right, we're gonna move over back to lawful, but down to moral.
So
interested who you have.
Yeah, lawful moral, I have Oscar.
Me too.
Okay.
I figured that we might meet up on that one. Oscar, I mean, that's just like his whole MO during the whole thing is being the moral voice of the office, being like, it's lawful because he believes he's right all the time, which I think is a huge characteristic of lawful, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of good to evil. Oscar's good peeps, but he's definitely lawful moral.
Yeah. He has moments where, like, I probably would have put him in good, but, like, he contributes to the affair with the senator.
Oh, for sure.
So that's definitely negative points to him, but...
Well, and I put him in moral not because he's not necessarily a good person. I think he's a good person. I just think that because he's morality focused and just, a step below good.
Yeah.
But still on the good side of the spectrum.
Definitely.
Social moral is where I put Holly.
Okay.
Again, human resources.
Yup.
But I specifically put her in social and Toby in lawful because I feel like Toby goes by the book so much and everything, whereas Holly's very focused on the relationships in the office, treating people with respect. I mean, the whole thing with Kevin, when they're trying to call him the R word and things like that, and she stands up for him for that. And I put her also in moral, not because she's not a good person, again, but she's a super moral person, and I also think that she has her moments, maybe a little bit because of Michael corrupting her slightly.
Yep.
That just kind of knocked her down a slight peg for me. So, social moral.
My social moral is I actually put two people in there, and I put the two of them together because they come in pretty late, is Clark and Pete.
Oh, okay.
They are not as fleshed out as all the other characters in the show because they have such short time within the show. But, like, Clark is a hard worker trying to make a place for himself in Dunder Mifflin. He takes the White Pages. Is that the company that Jan becomes?
Oh, yeah.
And so he does that, which, his actions there might have been a little bit less than good because it sounds like he was doing some unsavory acts for Jan, but he was doing it because he wanted to get
ahead.
Yeah. He wanted to get ahead. And Pete, he's, always standing up for Aaron. He's just a really good guy, maybe not very super social, which, doesn't fit with the social category, but just because they're in the social column doesn't mean that they're actually charismatic.
Right, absolutely.
They do things with a purpose.
Yeah.
But don't always have, like, the do everything for the little man attitude.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that Pete is moral, but not so social, because he's my neutral moral.
Oh.
He is just one column over for me, for all the reasons you just said that I don't need to repeat.
My neutral moral is Toby.
Okay, yeah. I think I had actually had him over there at one point, and I just really needed a lawful good.
Yep.
So I shoved him over there.
Yeah, I put him in neutral, because there are so many times where he, does the right thing, but there's also so many times where he just is like, whatever, because Michael gives him such a hard time.
That's fair.
And then moral, HR, he's doing the right thing.
Yep. Totally. So my rebel moral is maybe a little weird, but it's Kevin.
Oh, interesting.
Because I just feel like Kevin's a little rebellious. He's, like, just goofy and funny. He has no idea what's going on, but, I wouldn't say he's necessarily the tip-top good person. I struggled a lot between him and Jim, who was going to be my rebel good and my rebel moral.
Gotcha.
But I ended up settling Jim, good, Kevin, moral.
Kevin is much further down on my list.
Really?
Yeah. And then we already covered that. I have Jim there.
Yep.
Chaotic moral. This seems a little obvious for me.
Okay.
It's Michael Scott.
Me too.
Yeah. He starts off the show probably in, like, a rebel, impure, chaotic evil because he's just so ignorant.
Yep.
But his character arc is pretty incredible throughout the show. I would say that he even, like, if you take, like, some of his last episodes, he would end up in, like, hardcore good, probably, like, social good.
Right.
But if you take his entire appearance on the show, he's moral.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Michael, for those who know me in the real world, know that Michael is one of my least favorite television characters, just purely because of the beginning of the show for me. It was so hard for me to get past Michael at the beginning of the show for a very long time. So the fact that he's as far up on the good scale as he is goes to show my strength and my growth and not judging characters too quickly. But yeah, for the same reasons you said, I mean, he's crazy and he's so unpredictable and just like wild and naive. But I mean, he never, like you said earlier, he never does anything out of malintent.
Yeah.
He has no intention of hurting people or being offensive or being sexist or anything like that. He genuinely believes that what he's doing is correct and totally fine.
Or just for humor's sake.
Yeah,
because there's plenty of times where he does make very non-politically correct jokes.
Yes.
But it's because he thinks that everyone is going to take it as a joke or understand that it's a joke.
Right.
When the audience clearly knows that that's crossing the line.
Well, and there's so many times that he does start with those jokes and someone points out why it's offensive, and then the rest of the episode is about him cracking down on other people being offensive.
Yep.
So I do think, again, that it's just from a place of ignorance, but he truly is, a good person overall. So, great.
All right. Jump back to lawful again, but down to neutral.
Go for it.
I have Gabe Lewis.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, we are different people. I have Dwight.
Okay.
I thought Dwight was a good one. I mean,
lawful?
he's a sheriff's deputy volunteer.
Yeah.
I wanted him in the lawful category, and I think it's funny that you, question that so much, but I knew I wanted him over there just because he does everything for a very specific reason. He's very by his own book of laws. And I put him down in neutral for the reason specifically comes to mind of him killing Angela's cat out of mercy, because he looks at sick animals and knows that they would be better off being killed and used for meat, and he has no concept of the emotional impact that could have on a human being, because it makes no sense to him.
Yeah.
In his book, he was doing the exact right thing, but it's kind of fucked up. So, lawful neutral.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. Gabe, I put him there. A lot of the people that I have in my neutral column, I put there because they're kind of an island. They can do everything by themselves for the most part.
Okay. Yeah.
Gabe does that in a sense where he's this drone that works for Saber, but he does everything for Saber.
Right.
He busts his ass to try and impress Joe Bennett. Mm-hmm. He is just always taking the right steps to try and better things.
Right.
But is never doing, it's just kind of drone-ish.
Yeah.
So he doesn't do anything for good or evil reasons. It's just, this is what he does, and he's doing it.
He does it because, that's how it's supposed to be done. Interesting. Well, similar reasons for two super different characters.
Very different people, yeah.
Social neutral was actually the last box I think I filled out, and it's where I finally settled on Phyllis.
I did the exact same thing.
Okay, yeah.
Last box, yeah.
Sorry, Phyllis.
Wasn't sure if Phyllis was going to make the list.
I do think it works, though, because she's very much, I feel like when I think of her, her social comes to mind, her social level, her social status, constantly bragging about who her husband is.
Yep.
She makes a lot of social faux pas, especially when it comes to Pam. She's very critical of Pam just randomly, and it's usually jealousy induced or just any reason. She just gets mad about certain things, and she does it very passively. But I do feel like she definitely acts not evil by any means, but not good by any means.
Yeah.
So I even though she was my last place, I do really feel like she's a social neutral.
Yeah, I think she could have moments where she does things evilly and does things good.
Well, immediately when you say that, what comes to mind is her pushing all the papers off of Angela's desk and immediately saying sorry as she does it. It's like she has to she wants to do these things that will cause people inconveniences and hurt them a little bit, but still apologizes for it to put that just brush of oops on top of it. So she's super new.
Another one of those moments is when the Michael Scott Paper Company started, and they come and everyone has come back, and so Michael's back in charge.
Right.
Ryan and Pam are on sales, and they have the coup meeting.
Yes.
And Phyllis is talking very negatively about Pam, being like, she's not even a saleswoman, she's a receptionist, and then immediately turns to Jim and says, I'm sorry, I love her, but...
I think she says, no offense, Jim, she's very pretty.
Right.
Trying to pad any negativity with just that little passive aggression backhandedness or whatever that she, I think, thinks makes it up for what she just said.
Right. Yeah, she's trying to shoehorn some class into some negative things that she does.
Absolutely. All right. True neutral.
Stanley Hudson.
Yep.
Yup.
Me too. This is actually my only one with 2.
Okay.
Stanley was my first and like one of the first people I placed in this. I just think it's so perfect.
Yup.
If anyone's seen The Office, I really don't think we need to talk about why he's a true neutral. But my other true neutral is Mose.
Okay.
I wanted to put Mose on here somewhere. I think that a really strong argument would obviously be made for Chaotic because he's Mose.
Yup.
But at the same time, I feel like he's just middle of the run, just a real weird guy, but like never does anything that bad, never does anything that good, never murders anybody, but, you know, isn't Superman. So
yeah, saving anybody.
Just literally straight in the middle, Stanley and Mose.
Yeah, I put Stanley there. He was very early on my list, and he is like why I kind of identified my neutral column as islands.
Yeah.
Like he just does everything by himself, for himself.
Yep. To get to the finish line as fast as possible.
Yep. Never very unapologetic for his ways, which I just feel is like so characteristic of a true neutral.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, we really hope you're enjoying this first episode of Passive Perception. This is Mary just popping in real quick to talk about some housekeeping stuff, so we'll get back to the episode in just a quick minute. First, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in. We have been talking about making this podcast for well over a half of a year now, so when we announced we were actually doing it, we were surprised and excited that we had people that found it interesting, and we're looking forward to hearing it, so thank you guys so much. Since this is our first episode, we want to know what you think of it so far. Obviously, with any pilot, there's going to be some pros, some cons, things that will inevitably change. So if there's any suggestions for what you'd like to see done differently, or if there's anything you love and want to encourage us to continue, you can let us know by shooting us a quick email at passiveperceptionpod@gmail.com. Also, if you want to stay up to date with the show, find out what we're talking about next, or if you want to share your alignment grid for The Office with us, you can find links to all of our various social medias at bit.ly/passiveperceptionpod. Our next episode will be in 2 weeks on Friday, August 31st, and we want your input on which franchise we should discuss next. So stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how to help us decide. We're going to jump right back into it now, so thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the second half of the podcast. Yay!
Rebel neutral. Who do you got?
Clark.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about Clark and Pete, so I'm glad you brought them up at one point when we were creating our charts, but I put him under Rebel just because he fights Dwight on getting into these jobs and getting these promotions and stands up for himself, and at the beginning of the show, you definitely would think, I mean, he's kind of an ass kisser. He's just trying to do what he can to make a good impression. When he realizes that won't work on Dwight or anybody else in the office, he switches a little bit.
Yep.
I also put him down to neutral because, you know, he tries to get weird, creepy sexual footage of Aaron alone in his apartment.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so when you had him in moral, I was like, is he though?
Okay, so maybe that'll just be Pete.
Yeah, so that's where I put Clark. He's a little spunky, he's a little rebellious, and he's not puritanical, but he's not the devil, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have Bob Vance from Vance Refrigeration.
Oh, really?
Yep.
He is not on my list.
I wanted to kind of put one of the very, like, support characters on this list somewhere, and putting him in Rebel neutral, I mean, again, like very similar to Phyllis, like, you know, they're neutral for a lot of the same reasons, right. But I put him in Rebel because there are so many moments where, and it's not even the actor who plays Bob that does it, it's often Phyllis saying, don't make me get Bob involved in this, right. Or Phyllis will say, I like to wear a low-cut shirt, so Bob will fight people on my behalf. It's just the kind of thing where, like, I imagine that Bob is a little crazy outside of work, and he's Bob Vance from Vance Refrigeration at work to keep him level. So yeah, that's kind of how I've always viewed him, is he's just a little bit of a loose cannon, but is then still like professional, so it kind of just all balances them out, but he's definitely has rebel tendencies.
Interesting. All right, chaotic neutral, I put Nate.
Oh, okay.
Sweet little Nate. He's definitely a very side character. We don't get to see him that much, but he's involved in some great cold opens.
Yep.
Especially when he first gets introduced and Dwight picks him up to become his new handyman. But I put him in chaotic just, again, because he has no impulse control. He has no idea what's going on around him. Like, again, not bad, not good. Just a little bit of a loose cannon, but just a real chaotic neutral for me.
Yeah, there's plenty of moments where he speaks up and is like, thinks that he's in the middle of the conversation with everybody, but he like literally just walked up.
Totally not.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's a great pick. I have Dwight as my chaotic neutral.
Interesting.
So
opposite ends of the neutral spectrum.
You made a lot of great points, and I think that they weren't things that I was thinking about, that he's a very principled character for himself.
Right.
But I think I was kind of more viewing him from the perspective of the rest of the office.
Mm-hmm.
That no one really understands what Dwight does except for Dwight.
Yeah.
So realistically, yes, he probably should be closer towards neutral or lawful if we're looking at a character perspective. But when I was placing him on here, I think I was more viewing it as like everybody else views him as a chaotic neutral, because he's not going out of his way to save a baby, but he's also not trying to cause the demise of anybody except for his pranks with Jim, which go
and
back
also
and forth.
when he and Ryan are trying to literally destroy Jim Halpert.
Right. But yeah, I felt like he belonged in that spot.
I get it. There's a part of me that wishes there was a way to do chaotic lawful, because that's how I feel about Dwight.
Yeah. Just take his neutralness, because he's so neutral, and just make him both ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely. Lawful and pure. Speaking of Dwight, his other half, Angela.
Yep.
All right, perfect. She's just kind of like Dwight, where she has her own book of rules and everything, but she cheats on people a lot.
Yep.
And she's just really mean to a lot of people in the office. She's not a super great lady, especially for the beginning through like the first 2/3 of the show. She's generally just not a super pleasant character, so.
Yeah. I honestly might have put her down in evil if my evil column wouldn't have been so crowded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She talks about 2 separate times where 2 guys are having a duel to win her favor, that she's been sleeping with both of them.
Yes.
She's, when she's the head of the party planning committee, she's blackmailing people, and I mean, she gets blackmailed herself, but there's just so many moments where she's backstabbing and conniving.
Absolutely.
Very principled. She's probably one of the most principled characters in the show, but is just pretty awful.
Yep.
From start to finish.
Yes, pretty much.
I mean, I guess the last episode in like the jump forward, when she comes clean about the baby being Dwight's and they get together, that you see her, I don't know, kind of shed that.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite moments of the entire show.
Yeah.
And it's 2 characters that I put in lawful neutral and lawful and pure, who are generally 2 categories of people who probably just aren't that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has her redeeming moments, as every character in this show has, but for the most part, she's pretty impure.
Yep. Social impure.
Yes.
It's always my favorite way to describe somebody that I don't like. Not that I don't like this character, but she fits it so perfectly, is Kelly Kapoor.
Yeah, mine too.
Again, similarly to why I think we both have Phyllis in Social, she has this air of, social decorum.
Yeah.
That's pretty misplaced.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she bullies people on their Facebook walls when she doesn't think they have enough hair.
And bullies somebody to her face that Aaron doesn't like, because that girl is dating Andy.
Right.
Yeah, she's pretty awful. Again, another person that might have fallen down unto evil, but this show has so many great evil characters that I think that row could have just been filled to the brim with people. So
yeah, I started with her in my social evil, and then when I thought of someone else, I bumped her up a step into social impure. All right, my neutral impure is Nellie. We don't get to see her much. She's definitely super hateable when we kind of first get to know her. Not in her interview, but when she becomes a recurring character on the show, steals Andy's job, gets Andy fired, etc., etc. But I just feel like her all-encompassing need to have a child and her generous, like, just, like, how sweet she is toward Pam, even if it's not, like, she's giving her great advice, she is driving distracted, all of these things.
Yep.
That's just what bumped her up from evil to impure for me. That's just, like, how I feel about her. I don't feel like she's a super great person, but she has enough redemptive moments that I just, like, bumped her up a peg.
Yeah, I also have Nellie there.
Oh, okay.
I also have Kevin there.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, Nellie was there for all the exact same reasons that you put her for my list. I put Kevin there because he's Kevin. Like, I put him there because I think that he does things for his own reasons. He's not doing it because, society should tell him to, be a lawful person, but he's also not doing things just because it would be crazy. Right. Like, he's just doing it because that's just who Kevin is.
Yeah.
I put him in impure because as a whole, he's just not a good guy, I guess. He's wholehearted and he's endearing.
Yeah.
But he causes a lot of problems.
I guess so.
I mean, while Jim and Pam are, I believe, on their honeymoon, he's sitting in their office and he commits fraud, basically, by getting their card canceled while they're out of the country.
In his defense, they should have called their bank first.
Yes. I don't know. He was tough for me to place because I think I moved him around the most in this chart, and he landed there because I don't know, just there's a lot of stuff that he does that's just pretty bad.
I don't disagree with you. I guess the only thing that kept me from putting him so far down is just that I don't think he ever does it maliciously.
Yeah.
I can't really think of a time. The only thing I can think of is when he and Andy are go up to Danny and say, well, Jim and Pam don't want us to go hang out with you. Like, that's intentionally causing drama that doesn't need to be there because that wasn't real. But that's the only thing I can really think of that could have been him, like, intentionally starting something instead of just, like, being a big dummy and not knowing what his actions will bring.
Right. And I did just remember something that I think I thought of that made me put him there was when Holly comes back from after New Year's when the ultimatum's happening.
Yes.
And
oh my God.
She's showing everybody that she's not wearing a ring, and she's clearly holding her ring finger up to everybody like, ha ha ha, but it looks like she could be giving everybody the middle finger.
Right.
He just replies, well, f*** you, bitch, and gives her the middle finger. And so it's just one of those things where I was like, that's a pretty harsh reaction to...
No, you're right. But that's like a rebellious quality to me. So yeah, I think it's honestly arguable. We put him in two super different spots, rebel moral versus neutral impure, but I think the argument is there for both of those.
Yep.
All right, my rebel impure is why I'm glad we have rebel and impure on this chart, because it's Meredith.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Wholeheartedly. Yes, definitely Meredith.
100%. In a normal good to evil chart, I think she would have gotten left off the list, or she would have had to be down in evil. But she's not evil. She's just, like, all over the place. And she's just... I mean, she's kind of a nut job, which I feel like makes rebel and pure is just, like, that's where you put those people.
Oh, definitely. She knows that some of the things she does is a little crazy.
Yep.
But I don't think she does them for the sake of chaos, which would keep her out of my chaotic impure. But, like, she's aware that she drinks a lot, but doesn't think that it's a problem.
Yep. She drinks hand sanitizer. She in a paper shredder.
Yep.
She doesn't wear underwear on casual Fridays. I mean, she's just like, she's a nut. And, but again, she's not evil by any means, but like, she's impure when it comes to the general society of the world. I want to hear your chaotic impure before I go.
I imagine it might be the same one. It's Creed.
Yes. Okay, good.
Definitely.
Yes. Creed is another one where on a 3x3, he'd have to go in chaotic evil.
Yeah.
For me. Also, there's a slight chance he's murdered people before.
Oh, yeah. Creed Bratton has killed Creed Bratton, we're pretty sure.
That's pretty much confirmed by Creed Bratton.
Yeah.
But he's not evil to me, especially like you said in this show. There's too many characters that are, quote, evil by the standards of normal society.
Yeah.
That Creed is just like, I mean, I think he's one of our favorite characters from the entire show.
Definitely.
So it would be hard to put him in evil anyways. But yeah, he's just, I mean, he's all over the fucking place. Yeah. So chaotic, so impure.
There are plenty of moments where, it's hard to tell if he's like acting it up or if he just has like old guy syndrome where he's just doing weird stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of things he does are wrong. Mm-hmm. But like the things he does also ends him up in like these hilariously awful situations, like skipping work when they're doing beach day and then hitchhikes onto the bus that's full of his coworkers.
Yep. Shows up to work, says what's going on, and Michael says, "There's been a murder." And he goes, "Great, just 1 second," and just leaves.
Yep.
Just hightails it out of there.
The moment there's any indication that he might be the suspect in a murder, he just runs.
Just hightails it.
Shows up to a Halloween party covered in blood, and then they do a talking head, and he goes, "Oh, it's Halloween. That's convenient."
Yep.
Perfect, chaotic, impure.
Absolutely. God bless you, Creed Bratton. My lawful evil is Gabe.
Oh, okay.
So I found it funny when you were talking about how he's very neutral when it comes to his lawfulness. He never does anything with malintent. And I do think that that's somewhat true. But then I think about how he acts around Andy and Aaron is really what put him down on the evil scale for me. How he acts around Dwight, his competition with Dwight to being teacher's pet, basically, between Joe and everything like that.
Yeah.
And Robert. There's just a lot of very negative. He's a character that was created to be hated. And I think that Mike does a really good job of creating those kinds of characters that you love to hate. And I think that Gabe is absolutely one of those people. But again, because he's sent from corporate, he's there to mandate the office, he's there to keep them from saying rude things about saber printers and their little comics that Pam is drawing.
Yes.
All of those kinds of things, but I mean, he's teased and tormented, and the more that happens, just like the more I think it bears down on him a little bit, and lawful evil.
Yep. It's funny that you have him there because the person he answers to is my lawful evil, Joe Bennett.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't think lawful needs to be discussed too much. She's very driven with her,
absolutely
pursuit of being a female CEO. She lives, breathes, and dies Saber until she gives her job away.
Right. Gets talked out of her own job.
Yeah. But I put her in evil because, I mean, she keeps her ex-husband's last name just to spite him.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that the saber printers are like cheap pieces of shit.
Right.
And then just tries to like cover him up. Like, yeah, she claims that, we were going to release this patch and it was going to fix him. But I don't think that that's true.
Okay.
I think that was something that they scrambled to be like, here's how we fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for causing this huge lawsuit and making us shell out a bunch of money for these cheap printers we're trying to, spin on everybody.
Okay.
I think that most of the things she does are intentionally wrong.
That's so interesting that you see her that way.
I love the character.
Oh yeah, Joe's great.
And the actress, like every time she's on screen, I'm laughing.
Yeah.
But I think that the character's motives was what put her on evil for me.
Interesting. That's funny. I don't know where she's not on my list. You asked me a couple days ago if I was putting Joe on here, and I said no, because the only spot I really had open was like social moral, and that's obviously not where Joe Bennett goes. So I don't really know where I'd put her, but that's interesting how you said that. All right, social evil for me is Packer.
Social evil, okay.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we don't have him in the same place.
Oh yeah.
I put him in social evil specifically because he is the least PC person on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I just think he makes the most social faux pas, and he does it so intentionally, because that's the interesting contrast in his relationship with Michael, is that Michael will say these jokes and things, and maybe he'll do it to get a rise out of people, but he doesn't think what he's doing is bad because it's just a joke. Whereas I view Todd Packer as explicitly doing things to piss people off about their sexuality, their gender, everything like that. And so that to me is like social evil. And he laces a bunch of cupcakes with diuretics and laxatives, but also constipating medications and just really fucks with people just because he thinks it'll be funny. So for me, I could move him further closer to chaotic, and I think that every box for that would be understandable, but I think that he's social evil through and through.
I think I had Todd in every single one of my evil boxes at one point or another.
Okay.
He was the first in my evil row, and I kind of kept moving him around when I thought, oh, someone might fit here better. But yeah, he did not land in social evil. Okay. Ryan did.
Okay. I could see that as well.
He's one step closer, like he's basically a step directly below Kelly for all the same reasons that she's in that social thing, but he does things, again, with intentional wrongness and like hurtfulness.
He's super manipulative.
Super cutthroat, to climb to the top of Dunder Mifflin and then causes a shitload of fraud.
Yep.
Like, literally, I think they say at one point, like, cost Dunder Mifflin millions of dollars because they were misleading shareholders.
Yep. And then when he has the opportunity to come back into the paper industry, it's specifically so he can fuck with Dunder Mifflin some more.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I have Ryan in the next box, neutral evil, because I just think, it's not that he's not social evil. And I love what you said about putting him right below Kelly, because he's definitely Kelly's motivator in a lot of actions. There's times where you see her questioning the things that he's telling her to do. Or like she came up with Woof and then he stole it. And so the two are obviously so closely linked. But yeah, I just put him in neutral evil because I felt Pecker was a good social evil, but I wanted Ryan right kind of in that same area.
Definitely.
Because he's not chaotic. He's very calculated. Yes. He's so calculated in what he does, especially to manipulate.
He spent some time in my lawful evil box.
Yeah.
Because I think that, there's so much that drives him for his evilness.
Yes, fair enough. Okay, so then who was your neutral evil?
This one I wasn't thrilled about, but I don't know, I think it definitely fit at one point, Jan.
Okay.
She's one of those people that just is kind of a bad person. I mean, I think all of the execs in Dunder Mifflin could fall onto the evil, except for Michael. Because there is a point where Michael is the highest ranking person in Dunder Mifflin.
Right.
But yeah, for a lot of the same reasons as Joe, she does things that are just not great. Like, she probably is having an affair, like cheating on Michael with her assistant Hunter.
Also is getting artificially inseminated while she's with Michael and doesn't tell him about it.
Yeah, just a lot of her actions are pretty awful, but she's never, like, there isn't a purpose that she's doing these things that wouldn't put her towards lawful, but she's also not doing things. I mean, I guess there's some moments where she might be off the deep end, like, that would put her towards chaotic, but my rebel and chaotic evil are pretty hard and fast for me.
Okay.
So
mine as well. So
she fell into the neutral evil.
Gotcha. I mean, the argument's there. My rebel evil was a character I had blocked out of my brain, and I block every time until we rewatch the show, and she shows up when Pam is pregnant with baby number 2. It's Kathy.
Oh yeah.
Kathy is a pile of garbage, and I hate her, so she's rebel evil.
Yeah.
That's like all I got. She sucks, but she's too calculated to be chaotic. She goes down to Florida with the intention of stealing Jim away from his wife. Yeah. His pregnant wife, that the only reason she met him was because Pam was taking maternity leave.
Yep.
She's a hot pile of trash, and I hate her. And she sucks, and she tries to break up a marriage, so rebel evil.
Yeah, no, I don't have any disagreements with that. I don't have her in the last 2 spots. I definitely thought about putting her in the evil column, but I think the people that are filling up my evil column are larger and more important characters than her. But yeah, I mean, she's much like you said with Gabe, she's on the show to be hated.
Yes.
For a very different reason.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she's just this deliberate antagonist to the show's main protagonists.
Right.
So I definitely agree with that.
And I'm also tainted because I feel like the only reason she was in there was because they felt a need to put a wrench between Jim and Pam.
Yeah.
And I feel like she was sort of the catalyst of their problems that they started having in the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
Was just Pam's general distrust of Kathy, and then all of that just sort of spirals into other stuff. I just feel like I hate her.
Yeah, she's pretty awful.
Moving on.
My rebel evil is Robert California.
Okay, I really wanted to put him down here somewhere, but I was trying not to double up boxes.
He is just a bad dude.
Yeah, he is.
You never actually, I think, know his true name because he's known as Robert California to all the employees of Dunder Mifflin.
Right.
But then David Wallace buys Dunder Mifflin back and he introduces himself as
Bob Kazamakis,
I think something close to that. So, like, is he lying to David? Is he lying to
everyone
else? Is he lying to everybody?
Yeah.
Probably.
Including Mrs. California?
Yes.
Yes.
He, on the same train or the same episode with him lying about his name, he lies to David about getting this funding to go help underprivileged
retired gymnasts,
teenage gymnasts that are, uneducated, and he's basically going over to have just like a sexual brigade on like Southeast Europe and parts of Russia is basically what he says. The dude is scum.
Yep.
I love James Spader in the role.
Oh, he does a fantastic job with a terrible character.
Yes.
So, I totally get that. There's a part of me that almost put him in lawful evil just because, again, he's so deliberate in what he's doing. And, like, for example, the Halloween party, when he goes around and discovers everyone's truest fears to tell a horror story to scare all the employees. I mean, it's so intentional and so, like, and he just gets so much pleasure out of it.
Oh, yeah.
He loves making people uncomfortable. He loves all of that kind of shit. So, yeah, I don't technically have him on here anywhere officially, but he's definitely evil. Who my chaotic evil is?
Yeah, because by process of elimination, we know who mine is. It's Todd Packer.
Yes.
And
which makes sense.
Because everything evil that he does is for the sake of chaos.
Yeah.
And that was why I thought about putting him in my lawful evil, is because he was so dedicated to chaos with the cupcake laxatives and LSD and all that stuff, humping a bunch of different employees, being super politically incorrect. Everything he does is deliberately chaotic. So I was like, does that make him lawful?
Where does he go? Yeah.
So it was very fun for me to try and figure out if I wanted him in my lawful or my chaotic.
Oh, yeah.
But being driven by chaos still means you're chaotic. So he ends up there. Not a lot more needs to be said about, why he's evil, but it's just,
Interesting. Yep. Mine is Jan.
Okay.
Because she's insane. She starts off the show as, like, a true neutral, right? Like, she starts off so just, like, playing by the rules of Dunder Mifflin, just trying to get Michael to do his paperwork, just keeping her head down. And as soon as she kisses Michael, it just starts this tip down into the bottom right corner of my alignment chart.
Yep.
She's just, the whole dinner party episode, she's just, everything she says is impulsive. Everything she does becomes impulsive. She hurts Michael deliberately, I feel like, on a number of occasions. She's super rude to Pam because she feels threatened by this non-relationship that never happened between Pam and Michael. For me, she's so chaotic evil. She's so off the rails, so impulsive, so crazy, and she's not a great lady. So
yeah. Oh, she's pretty awful.
All right, that's a wrap on our first episode. We did it.
We did.
So, our next episode, like we said, is going to be in 2 weeks from now, and we want to jump into fantasy. So, we are currently debating between 2 different franchises, which are
Lord of the Rings and I don't know what the other one is.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
So we are going to have you guys help us out. So starting right now, as this goes live, there is a poll on our Twitter account @PerceptCast, and you can cast your vote for which of these 2 series we should talk about next. The poll is going to be up from now through Sunday evening, and then Monday morning we'll announce which series is up, which gives you guys plenty of time to come up with your own chart if you want to do that, so you can compare it with ours in our next episode.
So thank you all so much for tuning in to our first episode of Passive Perception.
Woo!
With this being our first episode, we are very open to any recommendations or criticism towards how we've done this first episode. If you have anything, you can send it to us at
passiveperceptionpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet it at us, DM us on Instagram. You can find links to all of our socials at bit.ly/passiveperceptionpod.
So if you reach out to us in those means, it would be really awesome, and we'd be super grateful for any help that you can give us.
Yeah. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.